right, so with national season coming to a close in Europe soon, that means it's time for NAWCQ as well as Euros. Alongside that, we assume a ban list is about to drop sometime in the next couple of weeks. It might happen at NAWCQ, as was the pattern at recent YCSs that coincided with ban list releases. Whatever happens, I decided to do some ban list predicting. It's always fun to do that. We get to discuss the format a little bit, so chime in with your thoughts, but that is just my personal opinion from the observations I have about this particular format we are in right now. So with that, like the video if you enjoy it, and let's jump into it. So let's start off with the unlimited section, because it's always fun to build the anticipation from unlimited to ban. The first card is going to be Morphing Jar. Let's talk about it, but let's not talk about it for too long, because we're playing Current, not Edison, and Edison is the only format where I'm genuinely scared of Morphing Jar. It went to 2, now it can easily go to 3, and it's not going to make much of a difference. Similarly to Morphing Jar, Unchained Soul of Shavara also went to 2 on the most recent ban list, and I think it can go to 3, and it's just going to be a nice boost for any Fiend pile, any Fiend type deck, but it's not going to make much of an impact on the current metagame or the metagame to come with new sets and cards releasing. With that, let's move on to the semi-limited portion. I only have one card on this section. Now hear me out, it's just an idea about what might happen. It's Mitsurugi Prayers. Now, I don't think this card is talked about enough, or maybe I'm just not in the right circles, but from what I see, this card is incredible. And I think people are a little too focused on other parts of the Mitsurugi strategy, whereas Prayers is just the most broken card there is. And I genuinely think if they're trying to tone down the power of the format a little bit and make it so people stray away from decks they are currently playing and pick up new strategies because that's what they want to sell, they're gonna try and take consistency away. And I don't think they're going to put it to 1 immediately. It's still like just an incredible part of the end board and disruption during the opponent's turn. And everything this card provides is just crazy. So I think they're not going to outright put it to 1, but putting it to semi-limited kind of makes sense, at least to me. Let's move on to the limited portion. Now, since we're on the topic of Mitsurugi Raizyu, let's just get that out of the way, I guess. I have an idea. What if we just take the OCG approach and limit X Raizyu as well as Sword Raizyu? Now listen, I am the first person to say X Raizyu can easily be banned and I will not shed a single tear. However, I don't think that's gonna happen. The card is broken, yes, but if they continue hitting consistency like they've shown in the past in the most recent ban list, then I think this is the best approach, very similarly to OCG, but we do have Ice Raizyu at 2 and they have it at 3, so it's still a bit of a difference. They did limit 7th Tachyon though, meaning we still have more copies in theory if this actually happens. And with that, you would be attacking the most powerful deck in this current format and also toning down the consistency of Heraldic Beast Raizyu, which is also a very just ignorant deck that inherently loses to only draw, really. So you would be kind of toning down the entire power of the format and just shifting things up a little bit and preparing the meta for the next set to come, which is going to be super impactful, and that's Justice Hunters. So with that in mind, I think limiting some of the Raizyu cards and semi-limiting Prayers might be a good idea. Now let's move on to another limited card. And we are on the topic of the top decks of the format, so let's talk about Malice. I think they might limit Dormouse. Again, similarly to the OCG, I think it's just the most obvious and the smartest approach. And with that, that's actually going to end the Malice part of this ban list, if that makes sense. I don't think anything else is going to be hit. And I'm not going to go off on a whole discussion about this, but I genuinely think Malice is not such a threat because it has so many inherent issues. And if you've seen, yes, it has been getting decent results at nationals, but there are events at which Malice is just completely flopping, and that's due to those inherent issues. So in my opinion, limiting Dormouse is enough of a consistency hit, enough of a slap on the wrist, so to say. And yeah, it's just going to make Malice a little less powerful, but you can still deal with it because you have so many ways of doing that. So, yep. For all y'all Malice haters out there, I know that's not what you want, but I think that's what might happen. Let's move on to the last limited card on my Banlist predictions, which is going to be Fiendsmith Engraver. Now, this is the only card I'm a little iffy on because I'm not certain if they really want to go after Fiendsmith. It's decent. It's not too broken. I know, again, there are Fiendsmith haters out there, but I think this engine is actually really nice. It's not toxic, in my opinion. It boosts certain archetypes. It's just great all around. And again, I might get some disapproval from you from saying that, but it's my genuine thoughts. I do think they're gonna limit Engraver just because they're not trying to have the entire meta be focused on Fiendsmith anymore, and they did capitalize on some of these reprints. And yeah, I just think it's the smartest thing for them to do because Tract is still holding a high value, and they can later capitalize on the Tract reprint, whereas Fiendsmith Engraver is just something that can easily go, in their opinion. And you still have it at 1. It's still fine. The engine is still functioning. And there are decks out there that play this as a tiny engine that only play 1 Engraver. So it's not the most outrageous thing to do. With that, let's move on to the banned section. Look, let's first talk about the banned cards, and then I'm going to talk about something else as well. So let's start with Barrier Statue of the Torrent. Now, maybe this is not the most obvious thing to hit in Mermail. I don't know what y'all think. I think Mulinglesia is a huge problem. I think Minstrel is also a problem. I think they could actually, like, realistically limit Dragoons or limit Prince or something. But I'm not certain it's what they're trying to do, because in my opinion, they're just gonna hit the most problematic card, which is a card that's preventing you from playing. Because in theory, you can still hand trap the deck. Again, this is like, I'm not entirely certain. I am a tiny bit iffy on that. They might genuinely just limit one of the cards I mentioned, and it would be quite okay, because Mermail is quite a problem. Like, the new Poseidra card is an incredible piece of support, and even though Bahamut Shark got banned, this deck is still making waves, no pun intended, in the meta and just continuously topping. But I think the biggest concern I have with this deck in particular is the uninteractive cards and the cards that prevent you from playing. But I don't know, like, I just have a feeling they're not going to go after Mulinglesia just because they don't want to. Like, they just don't feel like it, because they could have done it in the last ban list. But hitting a Barrier Statue is kind of like, you know, we're giving you a little something, but we're not actually hitting the most problematic cards, which is like Dragoons, let's be real, because that card just is the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. They did that to the Wind Barrier Statue, and in my honest opinion, they could just outright ban all the Barrier Statue and just be done with it, but they're probably not gonna do that, so they're just waiting for actual problems to arise before they hit them. I don't know, we'll see. The next card I have on the ban section is Harpy's Featherstorm. Now, this one is the only one on this list that is genuinely a wish. I think the other ones can realistically happen, but for the Harpy's Featherstorm, I'm a little uncertain because they never did it in Flunder format. And we know Flunder format was a pain. And this card is just, it's becoming a little too annoying for this card to be part of siding for all these broken decks that are already insane going first, but then they can just play this with Castell. It just feels toxic. And they might do something about it. They might just do a random thing and like limit it or something. I hope not. But I mean, I hope if they do anything, I guess limit it. But if they outright banned it, I don't think anyone would shed a tear except like a lone Harpy player out there. I don't know. But other than that, I would be very happy if they banned this card. And yeah, just take toxic cards out of the format. And with that, let's talk about Joel and Lockbird. And as you can see, I'm not putting it on the ban list predictions because I don't think they're gonna ban it. Just like I mentioned with Malice, I don't want to go off on a tangent and make a whole nother video inside of this video, so I'm gonna keep it very brief, you guys. Droll, unfortunately, is a necessary evil, and a lot of times it's the indicator of a bad format, unhealthy format, a slightly toxic format, but it's gotta exist for us to be able to compete in a format like that. And as unhealthy as this sounds, I think it's better to have that option as opposed to knowing you're gonna lose to a really broken strategy, because they're gonna keep printing broken strategies. So that's kind of my take. I know it's not the greatest thing, but I genuinely don't think they're gonna hit the draw, and that's my argument. So with that, that's going to end today's ban list predictions. Please let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about all the top decks in the format and how they could realistically hit them and prep this format for Justice Hunters, because I think that's going to be quite a change in the meta. So with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. It really helps out the channel, the algorithm, all of that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.